about 20 years ago at Boothtown, and it's still like that now. He had those like plastic school chairs that were all different heights, and he had one peg, and it was 3 showers, 1 warm. That's Boothtown for you. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to bring up one of our Hall of Famers. We're going to have a little chit wag, have a little chin wag. So you're first. Victor number 1. I would say as much changed outside or at the club since you've been here, but probably not. It's probably still the wooden stand.
Yeah, I mean, what we have here now is a club that's run by people who want the club to do well, not somebody that's in it for their own business interests. And the 2 guys that have come in are absolutely trying their best to get the club to the next level. We've got Jackie, who's in charge of everybody. With the 2 sons she's got, a cow she's inherited, a Ryan who's a natural son, and Mick there who's reliving the memories, hopefully, that we had before. And everything is right for what the club needs, where the club needs to go. The problem is that once again, there are barriers trying to stop the club where it wants to go, and that to me, because people forget that when we were doing well in the early 90s, we were dragging fans in from areas where rugby league was unheard of. We can only talk about 10 miles down the road, places like Barnoldswick, Earby, Burnley. We were getting people from those places coming to watch the Cougars.
I'm one of them.
Yes. And we were selling the game, the club was selling the game of rugby league to people that didn't know much about it. Unfortunately, the powers that be in rugby league failed to recognise that. And I'm afraid Mr. Lindsay, and I don't like to speak ill of the dead, has been a massive ruiner of rugby league, I'm afraid. And so to answer your question, everything's in place once again for the club to go places, but there are obstacles and obstructions in the way of where the club needs to go.
I think if you look, there's always, obviously we all agree that the RFL is run perfectly, but we won't ever say anything about that, because I'm getting recorded and it ain't worth it. But obviously from what you obviously see about obviously where the club's going, I think you agree, you've got Ryan and Carrie here who really got the heart and soul, and we're coming back together, and it's not for the interests of being millionaires, because if you want to be a millionaire you wouldn't want a rugby club. But it's about bringing everyone back in and having a room full of people who, the faces you kind of recognise and know. That's about bringing it together. But if there's one sort of really good memory when you think about it that makes you smile and laugh, from back in the day up till now, what's the one thing that makes you laugh when you think about the Cougars?
Makes me laugh. Well, a few tears, let's put it that way between. The one thing that makes me laugh is the happiness that the club are trying to spread in the community. And if rugby league survives in this town, then I'll be happy. Because, like I said, there are so many obstacles. So every time the club wins, or the team wins, I have a laugh. Because it makes me feel happy. Because people forget that I watched this team. I watched Brian Jefferson make his debut, who was a legend of this club and is here tonight, which is brilliant. I saw the guy make his debut and kick a goal from halfway line as a trialist called Johnson against Halifax in 1965. Just to be discussing with him now. And I can go back a long, long way. And I remember I've been involved with this club for a long time. And I want it to be successful.
And I think everyone in this room obviously has that same passion you've got about the success and moving forward. I mean, we've seen some remarkable things on that pitch. Obviously for the Cougars on that pitch before, about what it happens and what it means to people. But yeah, it's been really good. I mean, well done. You in the Hall of Fame today and tonight. So have you got any sort of closing remarks for everybody that you want people to remember you by?
No, not at all really. it's all their industry. I mean, I played for the club, supported the club, and coached him, and support him again. I'm 70 on Tuesday, so it's like a cycle. And I have nothing against this club. I want it to be successful. So the last thing I will say is that when I played here, I played against some world-class players. Alex Murphy played in the last game for Warrington against Keighley. Neil Fox, people like that. So I played against some world-class players for Keighley. So, you know, we have been there, we've been close to it. We need to get close again.
Completely agree. Thanks very much.
Arthur, and it's good to see him in his home, Phil. Okay, I've got a few questions here, Phil.
Oh, you would have.
That's what I heard now. What attracted you to joining us at Keighley in 1994?
I'd just been coaching Widnes before I came here. And Widnes were a pretty special team. And we went all the way to Wembley. We beat Leeds in the semi-final, who had a fabulous team. They had a real backbone of Hanley, Schofield and Gregory. Only put 40 odd points on them, but then lost in the final to Wigan. But when all that was happening, what I didn't know was that the club was going bankrupt. And Jim Mills, who was a great manager, had to tell the players that they'd got to take they'd got to half their contract. And then after that I went on holiday with my wife, and I got a phone call from Jonathan Davis. And Jonathan said, "Phil, what the bloody hell is happening with the club?" So I said, "Why, what's happened?" He said, "Well, they've just given me to Warrington." Now that's one of the best, strongest clubs at the time in the Rugby Football League. And Hull came for me, and I had a meeting with them, and they asked if I would take over the coaching. And then they said, "But you'll have to come and live in Hull." Well, I've got 3 kids at that time, and I wasn't prepared, Anne wasn't prepared to move. So I came here. And within 6 months, I realised that this club were better organised and would be more successful than Widnes. And it was mainly down to these 2 guys. I don't tell you how you pinch me from tell them. Well, I was speaking to Millsy in the office at Widnes, and there's a car pulled up, a red one, with a beep, 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 and looked out of the window. And it was this guy here, and I thought, what the bloody hell are they doing? I was sitting next to the manager of Widnes anyway. They said, "Phil, we'd like to talk to you." So I came over here and saw the match against Batley. And for a quarter of the match, all they did was kick shit out of one another. It was a real tough game. And I thought, well, I like that, I think, that'd be good for us. So these 2 came over to my house and chatted to my kids and chatted to my wife. I joined them, and when I look back at all the things that I've done in my career, the one thing that really delights me is this club and these 2. They've been absolutely superb. And you can't understand how important that you guys are, the spectators. And because of the way Michael used this here and got everybody singing, and the way this guy helped me with the coaching by taking pictures of the next opposition. And they were so, how can I say, professional. And the thing that perhaps made the difference between the club that I've just mentioned and here was you guys. Because you guys, the spectators, you made so much noise, you were so strong behind us. When we went a long journey, you were still there, and you gave the players an incentive to play at the best. So you guys have done a fabulous time, and I think it's really important that we keep that going, and you get people who've got the ability, like these two guys, to help the coaching staff, like these two helped me, and for the three of us to help the players. But for me, it's been a superb experience coaching Keighley Cougars.
It's not money there, I'm not giving it. I'd just like to carry on from where Phil was saying there. They had a marvellous man in Jim Mills, who was a big man. And Mike and myself went to see Phil in an office, and the big Jim were there. So we got into a telephone booth, and we called Phil up and said, "Would you like to join Keighley and not talk Jim?" And he, "Who the hell are you?" Going on. Anyway, Jim found out, and he said, "Why you picked me? I don't know." And he says, "I'm going to find that O'Neill, and I'm going to kill that bastard." And so I had to ring him up, and he was staying in a cafe somewhere on the waterway, and he said, "I want to see you, boy. I want you here at 1 o'clock." "Yes, Jim, I'll be there." So I got there, and he said, "What do you think you're doing, taking my coach?" I said, "No, he must want to go." He said, "Well, I've got to congratulate you, because we couldn't have done it that way. Were you scared of me?" I went, "Oh, petrified, Jim." He says, "Good." And it was marvellous, a marvellous man with Jim. And we got Phil, and we're so pleased. Now, just before you go, Phil, I've got my mate here who was in a bad accident in his time, Mike, and I would just like him to ask a question.
Which one of the players it doesn't have to be the best player? Do you think you had the greatest impact?
One of the things that I've missed to talk about, I've talked about these guys, and I've never come across people that have helped me so much at the club. I've talked about you guys as spectators and the way you got behind us when you travelled all over wherever we played. But the most important thing are the players. And because of these two helping me and my coaching staff to put together a really exciting group of players. And they're the guys that should be up here, not coaches, but the players. It's the players that do the work. And the most important thing about coaching is winning. That's what it's about. A coach goes to a club to win something. And you need your players and your spectators behind you to do that. And the players that I had, that we had, playing at that time for Keighley Cougars were absolutely fabulous. So as far as I'm concerned, it's a big thank you to them. Thank you.
Thank you, folks. Gary, come on, big hand. And now big hand for everybody else. For you, folks. Yeah.
So, I just say you've got to follow that, haven't you? He's already said lots, so you're a bit I've run out of questions, and he said all nice things. I mean, yeah, but they put you last for a reason. So obviously, other people before you have talked about what the club means to them and the impact it had. But from you, what sort of impact did Keighley have on you when you were here and then afterwards?
I suppose, so I signed here, about 78, 79, sounds a long time ago, doesn't it? And I'm immensely proud, like Peter will tell you, Keighley guy, and you sign for your own town club, that's what you want to do. And then I went away and played elsewhere for 6 or 7 years, and then I came back, did 3 years here as a player before I retired, and then eventually got involved coaching. And actually, Peter's the one that got me involved in professional coaching, because Peter got the job at Featherstone Rovers and asked me to go with him and coach the under-21s there. So I did, and that's how I got into the game. So, you know, I owe Peter for that. And then I got eventually got coached at Halifax Blue Sox under-21s, and then I got the job here. Again, local guy, massive respect for the late Neil Spencer, Maureen's here, and Colin Farrer, who's still around is Colin, and they put some faith in me and gave me the head coach's job. So myself, Paul Moses was here, Paul Royster was here, we got involved, and you know, there wasn't a lot of money, but we just did it on, we signed people that we felt were the right people that would buy into what we wanted to do with a bit of passion, a bit of aggression, whatever, you know, all them ingredients, and it worked. So, and we won the grand final in 2003. So just very proud as a player and a coach to be part of all that, to be honest.
It's a big thing, yeah. So, yep, well done for that one. I think it's a big thing, you know, playing here, then going and then coming back and then coaching. Do you think, what was easier? Do you think playing in the mud and getting battered, or trying to speak to the players?
Oh, you must Rowie. Playing. Because as a player, you bother about yourself. And you know, and I'm true, you know, I know it's a team game, but you want to play for you, because as a pro, you want to be in the team, because if you're not in the team, it's a bit different now at Super League, but in our day, if you didn't play, you didn't get paid. Yeah. So without a doubt, but when you're a coach, you've got everybody to bother about, not just the players, the wives, the girlfriends, why are you picking him and all that, so I'm sure Phil will tell you that. There's a lot of stress, far more stress involved when you're coaching, because there's a bigger picture in there, and everybody's got an opinion, and that's fair enough, you know, like we all have. But there's reasons why he's not playing, or he's playing there, and there's reasons that the Speckies don't know, but you get flack for it, you know. So you know, and I know that that's part and parcel. So playing's a lot easier. I'll take all the stitches that I've had and bumps and bruises that I've had any day over coaching.
So if you look, obviously, I think it was last week, the new team that's coming together in pre-season did like a full wrestling, jiu-jitsu sort of thing at a wrestling gym. Is that something you even sort of considered back in your day, getting them in, getting rested? I think it'd just be a punch up in them.
No, there were little bits of that were creeping into the game. I remember that during my time. Aussie influence, like a lot of it is, isn't it? You know, they were doing things in Australia. I had a little smile today. I watched England rugby union against the All Blacks, and they tackled this guy and put him on his back over the line, and he said, "Oh, they've turtled him, they've turned turtle." We were saying that, Phil, years ago, one day in rugby league about turning turtle, getting him on the back, you know. So yeah, it was creeping in. Not like it's evolved now, isn't it? So it's a regular part of things. But it was creeping in, and we were doing little bits and bats by the time I got coaching. Yeah.
I'd say it's always weird seeing the world like do that, and then it's the first time you get to see the new players all together and vibing. I mean, if you go back a few years, you know, the team spirit and them all being together is what, do you think that's what really was better than just running laps? Is it more being the team together, or is it laps? What would you always start to look at as the coach?
Yeah, it's moved on from that now. You know, the lapping stuff don't really exist a lot now. Paul Royston, you know, he influenced myself and Mossy a lot with that by the guys not doing. You know, we used to do the 400s and 800s and all that stopped. So a lot more short stuff. The big fellas wouldn't have to run as far as what the smaller, sharper guys did. So everything, all evolving really, you know, and the game's evolving all the time, isn't it? But like I say, we're quite heavily influenced by what the Aussies are doing, too much so at times, I think. But so yeah, it all moves on, doesn't it? It evolves.
I think, yeah, it's very much of what's Penrith did last week is what you'll see Wigan do a week after, unfortunately. So I'll ask obviously the same question about what's the one sort of memory or thing that makes you laugh or smile when you think about it in your time as a player or a coach or as a spectator now for the last couple of years. What's the one thing where you tell the story that just makes you laugh and smile when it comes to Keighley?
I think what Peter said really, it's a smile that, you know, our club's still here. You know, Ryan and Cowie taking the mantle on and moving it forward. I think we're 150 years old next year, I believe, which is a great achievement, isn't it? And like Peter said, there's a lot of great players that play for this club, and the club's still here. So that brings a smile to my face, you know, as well as, you know, when you win, you smile, like Phil's just said, you know, you need it to win it, you know. But without taking part, you know, we're in it to win it, you know. You just go into the shed after the game when you've lost. And if you saw Rowie in his pump throwing one, you know, and I could do a little bit now and then, you know, but it's all about winning, isn't it? And when you're winning, you're smiling and everybody's happy. Speckies are happy, they're not on your back. So you come in and you can have a pint and everybody's all right with you. Yeah, it's just about winning, and it's nice to see the club moving forward, hopefully, and let's hope we have a good season this season.
Thank you very much.